Hello and welcome to this course on Engineering Mechanics for GATE. In session 1, we have seen the overview of mechanics. In session 2, we would start with the definition and the classification of mechanics. Later, we will start with the system of forces and the ways to find their resultant. At the end, we will introduce moment, torque and couple. Nevertheless, bunch of numerical problems. Let's start with the definition of mechanics. Mechanics is the physical science which deals with the effect of forces on the object or bodies. Let's classify the mechanics. We can classify the mechanics under two headings, statics and dynamics. In statics, we deal with the bodies which are at rest. In dynamics, we deal with the bodies which are at motion. Again, dynamics we classify under two headings, namely kinematics and kinetics. In kinematics, the objective of interest is aspect of motion, regardless of the forces which are causing the motion. Whereas in kinetics, we do deal with the forces that are causing the motion and the corresponding inertial effect of the motion. Let's move on to idealization of three-dimensional real-life object in engineering mechanics. We idealize 3D object either as point mass or perfectly rigid body in engineering mechanics. Let's see in which all circumstances a real-life three-dimensional object is idealized as a point mass. If the physical dimension of the object is so small compared to its trajectory, then for an example in case of a satellite, or if rotation is irrelevant for the analysis perspective, for an example in case of a motion of a car, the motion of the wheels is irrelevant as the motion of a car as a single entity, or if the motion is straight line. In above cases, every point on the object has same velocity, acceleration and displacement. Instead of tracking each and every point, we just track the motion of a center of mass point. In above cases, a real-life three-dimensional object can be idealized as a point mass or a particle. Let's see in which all circumstances a real-life three-dimensional object can be idealized as rigid body. Most of the cases we design the object to have very low or least deformation. For an example, in case of a wing of an aeroplane. Though you have the considerable deformation in this case, but the point of view of equilibrium and the motion of an aeroplane, it does not have any significant effect. Based on this consideration, we take the bodies to be perfectly rigid. What I mean to say, the body to be perfectly rigid in the sense the deformation is zero irrespective of the amount of force you apply on the body. The deformation or the distance between 2 points always remains constant, or the delta is always to be the zero. Let's introduce system of forces according to the way they act on the system. We classify the system of forces into two categories. One is coplanar, another is non-coplanar system of forces. Let's start with the coplanar system of forces. If we can represent the entire static and dynamic behavior in single plane, then you call the corresponding system of forces as the coplanar system of forces. Let's take the example of JCB earth mover. Let's say this is my X plane and this is my Y plane. And this is the static case, this is the dynamic case. And in static, you get the bucket loader weight and the corresponding linkages weight and the forces due to hydraulic actuators. And you can see in a single plane, you can visualize the entire or every forces including the weight forces. In the dynamics also, in a single plane, you can see the entire kinematic corresponding forces in a single plane. If you can represent the entire forces in a single plane and the corresponding force system, you call them as the coplanar force system. Let's take the example of a suspension of an automobile. In this case, the spring force and the corresponding linkages forces, they do lie on different planes. You cannot represent the forces in a single plane. Then this kind of force system is known as the non-coplanar force system. And let's come back to the coplanar force system. If the forces are parallel, then we call them as the parallel coplanar force system. And if the forces they are meeting at one point, then you call them as the concurrent coplanar force system. If the forces are neither parallel, non-concurrent, you call them as the non-concurrent coplanar force system, and if forces are lying in one line, then you call them as the collinear coplanar force system. In line with the coplanar, we do have in non-coplanar, we have concurrent non-coplanar force system and non-concurrent non-coplanar force system, parallel non-coplanar force system. In day-to-day example, we can take tripod camera as the concurrent non-coplanar force system. In this case, the forces they do meet at one point, but they do lie on the different planes. Let's move on to the resultant, and the resultant which has the same effect of the original forces. Since our syllabus is restricted with the planar forces, let's find the resultant of the planar forces. Force is the vector quantity. Apart from the direction and magnitude, it should also obey the parallelogram law of vector addition. According to this law, if two forces represent the two sides of the parallelogram, then the resultant is given by drawing a diagonal to the parallelogram. Say in this case, let P and Q be the two forces representing the two sides of the parallelogram. Then let me draw a diagonal which is R to the parallelogram. Then the resultant is R in this case. Let theta be the angle between two forces P and Q. This is theta, this is also theta, and this is P cos theta, this is P sin theta, and this is the right angle triangle. In this case, I can write resultant square is equal to P square plus Q square in plus 2 PQ cos theta. Let phi be the angle made by the resultant with the horizontal. In this case, tan phi is equal to P sin theta divided by Q plus P cos theta. Let me use the sine rule instead of cosine rule here. Let on a triangle, let P and Q are the two forces representing the two sides of the triangle. Closing side would be my resultant in this case. Then P and Q are the two sides. R is my closing side. Let theta 1, theta 2, theta 3 are the angles between P, Q and R. According to sine rule, P divided by sine theta 3 is equal to Q divided by sine theta 1 is equal to R divided by sine theta 2 in this case. In problem number 1, two tugboats are pulling a barge. If the resultant of the forces exerted by the tugboats is a 5000 Newton force directed along the axis of the barge, and we need to determine the tension in each of the rods given that alpha is equal to 45 degrees. Here the resultant is 5000 Newtons. Tugboat A, which is making 30 degrees angle with the resultant, and tugboat C, which is making angle 45 degrees with the resultant, and the resultant is 5000 Newton, and the unknown angle is 180 minus 30 minus 45, which is equal to 105 degrees. Applying the sine rule, in this case TA divided by sine 45 is equal to TC divided by sine 30 is equal to 5000 divided by sine 105. Then TA is equal to 3660.2 newtons and TC is equal to 2588.2 newtons. In problem B, the value of alpha for which the tension in the rope 2 is minimum. Intuitively you can think here the tension in the rope 2 is minimum if the angle between TA and TC is 90 degrees. From here alpha is equal to 180 minus 30 minus 90, which is equal to 60 degrees. Let's take problem number 2. The resultant of two forces, one of which double the other, is 260 Newton. If the direction of the larger force is reversed and the other remains unaltered, the resultant reduced to 180 newtons. The magnitude of the forces and the angle between the forces are. This is case 1 and this is case 2. In the case 1, the resultant is 260 Newton. In case 2, the resultant is 180 Newtons because the magnitude of the larger force is reversed. In case 1, we can write 260 square is equal to P square plus 2P square plus 2 into P into 2P into cos theta. In case 2, we can write 180 square is equal to P square plus 2P square. Instead of plus, we get minus here, 2 into P into 2P into cos theta. By solving equation 1 and equation 2, we get P is equal to 100 and 2P is equal to 200 and angle is equal to 63.89 degrees. Answer B is correct option in this case. So far, we've been dealing with the graphical method of finding the resultant. Let's introduce the rectangular component of a force now. This is the algebraic way of finding the resultant. Let x and y are my rectangular coordinates. Let F be the force which is making some angle theta with the horizontal axis, and let Fx and Fy be the corresponding component of forces on x and y coordinates, and which are given by F cos theta and F sin theta. Let I and j are the unit vectors along x axis and the y axis. Force F can be written as corresponding component of forces along x and corresponding unit vector, and the corresponding y component of force and the corresponding unit vector, which is j hat, which is equal to F cos theta I hat plus F sin theta j hat. If it is 3-dimensional, then there is one more component in the z direction and corresponding unit vector in the g hat direction, which is the representation of rectangular component of a force. Suppose if we have multiple number of forces, then how do we find the resultant? The step 1 is to resolve the corresponding component into corresponding horizontal and vertical component of forces. In this case, F1 is equal to Fx1 I hat plus Fy1 j hat, and F2 is equal to Fx2 I hat plus Fy2 j hat, and F3 is equal to Fx3 I hat plus Fy3 j hat, and the resultant is equal to Fr is equal to F1 plus F2 plus F3, and which is equal to Fx1 plus Fx2 plus Fx3 I hat plus Fy1 plus Fy2 plus Fy3 into j hat, which is equal to Frx I hat plus Fry j hat, and Frx is equal to Fx1 plus Fx2 plus Fx3, and Fry is equal to Fy1 plus Fy2 plus Fy3, and the resultant which makes the angle theta with the horizontal is equal to tan theta is equal to Fry divided by Frx, and the magnitude of the resultant is equal to square root of Frx square plus Fry square. Let's take one more numerical. Here we have a four forces which is acting on a bolt as shown in the figure. We need to determine the resultant of the forces on the bolt. In the step 1, we need to resolve the corresponding forces into corresponding horizontal and vertical components. We have total 4 forces in this case: F1, F2, F3 and F4, and the corresponding components is along Fx and Fy. Let's resolve the force 1 into corresponding x and y component. The corresponding x component is 150 cos 30, which is equal to 129.9, and the corresponding y component is 150 sin 30, which is equal to 75, and the force 2 corresponding x component is minus 80 sin 20, which is equal to 27.36, and the corresponding y component is 80 cos 20, which is equal to 75.1, and the force 3 corresponding x component is 0, and the corresponding y component is minus 110, and the force 4 corresponding x component is 110 cos 15, which is equal to 96.5, and the corresponding y component is minus 100 sin 15, which is equal to 25.8, and we sum up all the corresponding x and y forces, which is equal to 199 newtons corresponding x components. Corresponding y component is 14.3, and the resultant force vector is equal to Fr is equal to 199 I hat plus 14.3 j hat, and the magnitude of the resultant is equal to square root of 199 square plus 14.3 square, which is equal to 199.5 newtons in this case. Let's introduce the moments now. Mathematically, moment is given as cross product between the position vector and the force vector. And you know, moment is the origin dependent quantity. A reference to the figure shown, moment about the origin O, which is equal to m naught, which is equal to position vector r cross f, and magnitude of movement given by rf sin theta, and from the figure r sin theta is equal to d, which is the perpendicular distance from the origin to the line of action of the force, which is equal to f into d. So magnitude of movement is given by force into perpendicular distance, and the direction is given with the help of the right hand rule. You point your fingers toward the position vector and curl the fingers towards the force vector. Obviously, thumb will point towards the movement direction. For simplicity, you can do the position vector and the force vector constitutes a plane, and if you curl the fingers towards the force vector, the perpendicular direction is the thumb direction, which is the movement direction in this case. And the special case of the movement is the movement of a couple. Two equal and opposite forces separated by certain distance having parallel line of action constitutes a couple. Let's find the movement in the direction about point O. In this case, movement about point O is equal to RB cross minus F plus RA cross F, which is equal to RA minus RB cross F. From the figure you can see here RB plus R is equal to RA, implies RA minus RB is equal to R. Then moment about point O is equal to R cross F. Again magnitude of moment is equal to RF sin theta. From the figure R sin theta is equal to again D, which is equal to F into D. The point to be noted in the previous case, in this case, the perpendicular distance is related with the origin in the previous case, whereas in this case the perpendicular distance is not related with the origin. In the previous case, moment is origin dependent quantity, whereas moment of a couple is origin independent quantity. and that's the reason we call moment of a couple is a free vector. Though moment, torque, couple, they represent the same thing, but the problems which are related to the bending, we use the term moment, and the problems which are related to torsion or the objects which are under rotation, we use the term torque, and the problems where the forces are separated by certain distance having parallel lines of action with equal and opposite sense in magnitude, we use the term couple. Let's take one more problem. Here we have a force of 20 Newton magnitude acting on a line passing through the point A and B as shown in the figure, and we need to determine the moment of a force about point O. First thing, we need to find the force vector in this case. Force vector is equal to force magnitude times the unit vector which is passing through the point A and B, and the corresponding unit vector which is passing through the point A and B is equal to, corresponding unit vector is 2i plus j divided by square root of 2 square plus 1 square, which is equal to 2i plus j divided by square root 5, and the corresponding force vector is equal to 20 into 2i plus j divided by square root 5. Let's calculate the moment about the position vector AO and about the position vector BO, and the position vector AO is I plus 2j, and the position vector BO is 3i plus 3j, and the moment about the position vector O is OA AO cross force vector, and the moment about corresponding BO is BO cross force vector, which is equal to about AO I plus 2j cross 2i plus j divided by root 5 into 20. About BO 3i plus 3j cross 2i plus j into 20 divided by root 5. You know I cross I is 0, j cross j is 0, I cross j is equal to k, and j cross I is equal to minus k. In this case, if you find the moment which is equal to minus 60 by root 5 into k, in this case also which is equal to minus 60 by root 5 into k. The point to be noted here is, no matter along the line of action of the force vector you calculate the moment comes to be the same. You can see the same thing from here. Since our syllabus is restricted with the planar cases, instead of R cross F for the calculation of moment, use the force times the perpendicular distance for the calculation of the moment in most of the situations. Let's do the same thing in this case. The first step, let's calculate the moment about point O. The first step what we do here, we resolve the corresponding force into horizontal and the vertical component in this case. In this case, the corresponding horizontal component is 800 cos 60, which is equal to 400, and the corresponding vertical component is 800 sin 60, which is equal to 692.8 newtons. 692.8 newtons. Let's calculate the moment about point B, then which is equal to 400 into 0.16 plus 692.8 into 0.2, which is equal to 202.5 Newton meters. And the direction in the planar cases, either it would be clockwise or it would be counterclockwise. We take the clockwise moment to be the negative moment, in the counterclockwise moment to be the positive moment. In this case, the moment is the clockwise moment, so the moment we take it as the negative moment in this case. Let's take problem number 7. In this case, instead of choosing the coordinate system like this, we choose the coordinate system, one coordinate which is x coordinate which is parallel to the linkage and the y coordinate which is perpendicular to the linkage. Let's resolve the forces. One is parallel to the linkage, other is perpendicular to the linkage, and you know the force which is parallel to the linkage does not contribute any moment, and force which is perpendicular to the linkage which does contribute the moment, and the moment about the point O in this case is equal to the perpendicular component of force, and the corresponding perpendicular distance is 3 feet, so that we can calculate the moment in this case. Let's take the last problem. We have 4 parallel forces of magnitude 100 Newton, 150 Newton, 25 Newton, 200 Newtons are as shown in the figure. And we need to determine the magnitude of resultant, also the distance of the resultant from point A. Step 1 is to determine the magnitude of the resultant. In this case, F resultant is equal to 100 plus 150 minus 25 plus 200, which is equal to 425 Newtons. And step 2, we need to find the distance of the resultant from point A. Let the resultant which is acting at a distance x from point A. And you know the resultant which has the same effect of the original forces. Let's find the moment of the resultant which is equal to x into Fr, which is equal to the moment caused by the original forces, which is equal to 0.9 into 150 since it is counterclockwise, minus 2.1 into 25 since it is clockwise, plus 2.85 into 200, it is counterclockwise. Then from here we get x is equal to 1.53 meters. Let's introduce the last topic, Varignan's theorem. According to Varignan's theorem, the moment about a given point O of the resultant of several concurrent forces is equal to the sum of the moments of the various forces about the same point O. In this case, let's say this is the origin O. We have a several concurrent forces here. Then moment about point O is equal to r cross F1 plus r cross F2 plus r cross F3 plus so on, which is equal to, according to Varignan's theorem, which is equal to r cross F resultant, and F resultant is equal to F1 plus F2 plus F3 plus so on. This is according to the Varignan's theorem. In the next session, we would start with the equilibrium and the free body diagrams, and we'll also see how to isolate the body